Hi, I'm Rabbi Goldberg. Here's my dear friends, Rabbi Moskowitz and Rabbi Broide, and we are here to take you behind the Bima.
Guys, what are you doing here?
What do you mean? You guys are getting old. We're planning for your retirement.
Retirement? We're just getting started.
Guys, it's bedtime.
Wow.
From Boca Raton, Florida, Rabbis Efrem Goldberg, Philip Moskowitz, and Josh Broide are taking you behind the Bima. The BRS rabbis schmooze about contemporary issues and talk to special guests who give a behind-the-scenes look at how they got to where they are and what keeps them going. Welcome to Behind the Bima.
It is Wednesday night, 9 p.m. I'm your host, Rabbi Efrem Goldberg, joined by my dear friends and colleagues, Rabbi Philip Moskowitz and Rabbi Josh Broide, and we are here to take you
behind the Bima.
Behind the Bima.
That was great. How cute were they?
Academy Award presentation.
That was a fun and a great opening by our proteges, by our assistants, by the next ones who are lining up to take over for us when we are, as they said, ready to retire. That wasn't easy to coordinate. It took several rehearsals and practices, but that is the Purim fun that Behind the Bima brings to you. Before we even get started on an action-packed Purim episode that we promise is going an hour, maybe a little bit more, but nowhere near the marathon sessions that we've been doing. But we've got
still
not
recovering
one
from last week.
What do you mean? Last week's episode just ended a couple minutes ago. In fact, one of the guests that we have on tonight that we're so excited about, we're going to celebrate their 80th wedding anniversary. And when I posted online, we're celebrating their 80th anniversary. It was yesterday. Someone wrote, 80 years. That was the length of your last episode. That was pretty funny. But anyway, we have amazing sponsors tonight, not just one, but two. First of all, we continue to thank our dear friend, Dr. Donath, dailygiving.org, dailygiving.org. More of you have to sign up. The ability to give a little $1 a day adds up to millions that are given away every year to worthy causes. Dailygiving.org, an amazing platform to enable giving tzedakah every single day. But tonight is also sponsored by one of our community members, a dear friend, Jeremy Gelbart, and his tremendous new company, which is called beepermd.com, beepermd.com, which offers free at-home PCR testing and $30 rapid testing. It's established by one of our own Shul members, and as I said, free at-home PCR test, $30 rapid antigen tests, and you can get your PCR results in less than 48 hours. Imagine your whole office, the whole school, the whole community could get tested once a week. You could go into an event, Shabbos, a meeting, knowing that you're safer. All you have to do is be in touch with beepermd.com, beepermd.com. We thank our two sponsors tonight. Gentlemen, how has your week been thus far?
As I said, I'm still recovering from last week. Last week was a marathon.
It was a marathon.
I taught the next morning.
The little disagreement when it ended, right? When this whole fundraiser ended. Was it before Shabbos, which one of us would have won, and then did it end after Shabbos when the other one won? So
well,
let
me
really
give you
sure.
a real-time update. Let's give everybody a real-time update. Not only a real-time update, but let's give an enormous thank you. We are not going to harp on the global campaign. You see, it's not in the overlay. Those watching on YouTube, first of all, please subscribe. If you're listening later on the podcast, please rate and review. But we had a goal for our global community of 100,000, and we are close to 106,000 right now. And so we want to give an enormous thank you, to the close to 900 people around the world who want to be part of the global BRS community, the global BRS movement, the global BRS nation. Want to learn with us, want to read, and if you're a member of that BRS global community, you're going to be joining a special email list. You're going to get very special things, maybe a little extra bonus coverage of Behind the Bima, bonus Divrei Torah, bonus writings for the BRS members, who are, of course, our primary focus, but the BRS global community as well. So here's the update on the Rabbi Moskowitz, Rabbi Broide. I was asked to announce this, not by Rabbi Broide, but in the Rabbi Moskowitz, Rabbi Broide, if you
I would have brought it up anyway.
Last week, if you were listening to the marathon last week, you heard and you saw the close race between the two. And there was neck and neck, $1 by $1. And last minute, Rabbi Broide pulled ahead They concluded it. Rabbi Broide brought in 9,539. Rabbi Moskowitz 8,429. Tell you the truth, it doesn't really matter who brought in what. What
We're all
matters is we met and we beat
Jewish
our goal.
people are
and
winners.
we are so grateful.
Right.
The Jewish people are winners, and we're so grateful to our global community who want to be part of what we're doing. We got a great Purim episode for you tonight as we're getting ready for the Jewish holiday of Purim. Festive, joyous, fun. All of us could use a little bit of that. We'll reflect a little bit later on what it means to be coming up on a year since this all began. The last normal thing most of us remember was the holiday of Purim last year. Holiday of Purim was a little modified. I reread the sermon I gave the week before Purim last year, and basically I said, hey, wash your hand a lot. Try not to sneeze. If you got a cold, stay home. Otherwise, stay calm, carry on. You got nothing to fear. And then, in fact, I said there's one guy we know in New York who's got corona, and we should all daven for him. That's as far as it went. That one fear, that one concern. And here we are a year later, and boy, has the world turned absolutely upside down. Absolutely.
And I was even looking at the weekly, because before we had closed down last year, we had already printed the weekly for that week, and I was looking at that weekly, which were our recommendations. By then, we were already recommending that members over the age of 65 not come to Shul that Shabbos, but we told everyone else it was perfectly safe, and that was printed on, I believe it was Thursday, and then by Friday we were shut down, and it was it's pretty wild to think that we're a year later how much has changed.
I remember
Really,
we were going to have
amazing.
We had a big outreach Purim Suda planned where we have the Megillah being read, and every year there's someone that comes over, and he called me around 2:00 saying he's not going to be able to make it. He doesn't feel that great. He has a headache. It's one of our friends. So I said to him, "Come on, you have a headache. Just take an aspirin." He's like, "No, it's a little bit more intense. It's more like a cold or maybe a flu." Like I got 100 people waiting here for you to read the Megillah. Just come over, read the Megillah, you can leave.
Right.
He said, "I'm not coming," and we found someone else.
Little
did I know.
Could have given the big C to 100 people in your house. We got an amazing lineup for you tonight. We're gonna spend time with a couple who are both 100 years old and yesterday celebrated their 80th wedding anniversary. That is longevity in every which way. But first, we're really excited. We've got a phenomenal guest, Rick Smith Jr. Many of you have heard of him, an illusionist and a comedian and card thrower from Cleveland, Ohio. He is world famous. His YouTube videos have millions of hits. His incredible illusion sleight of hand, but he also carries several Guinness World Records for his card throwing. And we are so excited to be able to welcome on tonight. We had the great fortune of seeing him recently at a bar mitzvah here in Boca, and he's available to do bar mitzvahs for others. But it is a great pleasure and a great joy to welcome Rick Smith Jr. Rick, how are you tonight?
I am good. How are you guys?
We are doing great. So, Rick, I know that you've been on Ripley's Believe It or Not. I know that you are on the Ellen Show, Shark Tank, Tonight Show, America's Got Talent. You appeared twice on a fan favorite in my home, Dude Perfect.
Yeah.
You got a popular YouTube channel. Is it true that all those appearances pale in comparison to your appearance tonight on Behind the Bima?
I mean, this has to be the biggest opportunity that I've ever had. You guys allowing me to come and perform maybe a magic trick or something for everyone to help celebrate Purim.
Nice.
I'm glad we were able to work it out with your agent. It was a big deal, and this could really launch something very special. I know that your first 3 videos on Dude Perfect got 150 million views. After this appearance, I would expect that to nothing but double. But Rick, before we get to illusion, card tricks, and the holiday of Purim, even its theme, talk to us about these world records. World record for farthest playing card thrown, 216 feet 4 inches. Most accurate playing card throwing, 50 out of 52 cards hit a 5-inch radius. And highest playing card thrown at 70 feet 3 inches. How did you know you had that talent, and where did you practice?
So there was no practicing. I'm a magician, and I was also an NCAA pitcher in college. So I played baseball, and I found out that I had this crazy talent of being able to throw a ball 90 miles an hour plus. And one day, by accident, I picked up a playing card, threw it, and found out that I could throw playing cards farther, harder, and more accurate than anyone in the world, and ended up breaking some Guinness World Records. Back in 2002, I broke my first world record for the distance throw, 72 yards, so 216 feet 4 inches. And it basically was before social media, so there's no YouTube, no Instagram. I kind of went viral with Associated Press, like the front page of the local newspaper. But it went worldwide. So it launched my career, breaking world records. I just broke another one this year. This was
Wow.
the cards thrown out of a deck of cards. That was 50 out of 52 cards into a target, and I'm planning on breaking some more world records coming up soon.
Congratulations.
Now, what is
and
that
as we say,
conversation
mazel tov.
like? What is that conversation like when you go to your parents and you're like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a professional card thrower for life? What is the reaction you get?
It's not much different than saying I'm going to be on Behind the Bima every week.
It was a no-brainer. I went to college. I got my degree in marketing and business, and I was able to make enough money doing local magic shows, bar bat mitzvahs in the Cleveland Beechwood area. I think some of your followers might even be familiar with that. I did that. I still do. I still do bar bat mitzvahs. I still do birthdays. I do corporate events, big, huge illusion shows. And, when I was able to buy a house at the age of 21, my parents said, you could do whatever you want.
Better than med school. So here's my question for you, Rick. So we saw you at a bar mitzvah, and people should just know this is not some everyday entertainer performer. Really, really exceptional, special. And if you have the privilege of being able to bring Rick in, you're lucky. And I'm sure we'll give out some details how you could be in touch with him. But the bar mitzvah, and big mazel tov to the landers again, and thanks for help for tonight. What a fun event! What a great event! And you did your card throwing where the bar mitzvah boy had a carrot in his mouth.
Yeah, Jake had a carrot in his mouth. I can't believe his parents let me do that.
That was pretty extraordinary. And you threw the card at such a trajectory, such a velocity, it sliced the carrot. Have you ever injured one of the celebrants for which you were performing?
Well, this is live, so I really can't talk about that. But no, I've never hurt anybody on purpose. On accident, I should say. I've never hurt anybody on accident.
There you go. It really is amazing. And 90 miles an hour at that bar mitzvah, they actually had set up for the kids, but Rabbi Moskowitz and I are known to compete a little bit. So they actually had a how fast can you throw things set up. Both of us in our suit and tie and mask with our wives ready to kill us, couldn't tear ourselves away because we kept upping the record of where we got, and it topped out. I threw 58 miles an hour, Rabbi Moskowitz 59 miles an hour. Neither of us could move our arm for a week, and that is 25 miles an hour slower than the slowest curveball in the major leagues. So how do you hit 90 miles an hour? What is it? It's all about torque? What's it about?
Yeah, it all comes from, I would say it comes from your legs, honestly. I was a swimmer in high school, but I was also a baseball pitcher, and I was always taught to strengthen your arm, just throw long toss. So you start at 20 yards, 40 yards, 50 yards, and you keep on going. And one thing that separated me from anyone else in my college baseball career is I was the only one to be able to throw a baseball goalpost to goalpost on the football field. And being able to throw that long toss, enabled me to build up this arm strength and body strength to be able to throw. I mean, it's mechanics and the way you move your body and how you move and how you spin. It works.
Well, then
one thing for any of the kids watching, card throwing can come with some risks. I've had 2 surgeries right here.
Whoa.
I've had an ulnar collateral ligament reconstruction from throwing so hard. So Be careful, anyone that's watching.
So I want to ask you one other question, and then we're gonna have you do some tricks on Rabbi Moskowitz and Rabbi Broide, and I will be a spectator. But one other question. So this holiday of Purim that we're celebrating, the Jewish holiday of Purim, the Jews were threatened in what is today Iran, but Persia back then had enemies who wanted to annihilate us. And the whole story that we read from the Bible doesn't have God's name in it. And the whole goal of the whole theme of the holiday is to realize that so much of what we see is an illusion, that what we see, there's much more than meets the eye. And what looks like coincidence or random or chance, it's really God Almighty. He's pulling the strings. He's choreographing, curating life. And the world is a matrix. It's an illusion. But behind it, there's meaning, there's order, there's purpose, there's God. Which brings us to you and what you do. So how has being an illusionist and the ability through sleight of hand and the magic that you perform, does that impact a view of the world? Has that impact your view of relationships, of people, of experiences, of things, to realize that just like you're able to cause others to conclude things that are much more than they seem, so too in life, like we just don't know what's going on behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, I use magic as an entertainment source to bring people together, to bring joy to people, to bring people back from their worries and things that they're having in life now, and bringing them back to that joy and magical feel that they had as a kid. So I use magic as an entertainment. I'm trying to bring smiles to people's faces and, just interacting. I get to meet people from around the world. I got to meet some of you. I've got to travel to many different countries and perform for people that don't speak English so I feel like the art of magic and this whole thing that I do is a universal way of watching something that brings joy to everybody. So that's really why I like doing it. I mean, I do this I do it for my job, but originally I just did this for fun. I would perform for free when I was younger. Now it's my career.
Who's the coolest person you ever performed for? Who was the most exciting other than Jake Landau?
Let's see. So I was on a TV show called Shark Tank, and I ended up, working kind of with Mark Cuban a little bit, and I've had the opportunity to perform with him a few different times, and I feel like he was probably one of the coolest celebrity people that I've had the chance to interact with.
Amazing.
That's amazing. What's your feeling when you do a magic trick? I mean, I was thinking of some of the things you did at Jake's bar mitzvah, and when you first came on, we were like, okay, it's a magician, it's an illusionist. Like, how good can this be? And by the end, you had the place eating out of the palm of your hands, and it was phenomenal and fantastic. What does that feel like as a performer when you go in there and you just gave people this incredible experience? You brought smiles to their faces. You took all the anxiety of COVID and you let them relieve it a little bit. What is that like as a performer when you know that you accomplished your goal there?
I mean, it feels like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I mean, I'm there to entertain and, let people forget about all those worries like COVID and everything else that they're having. So hopefully it took everything off their mind for the 45 minutes to an hour that I performed, and, brings me great joy and pleasure to be able to do this as a career. I mean, not everyone gets to do card tricks for a living. I mean, I feel like it's definitely a gift from above.
It's incredible. I'm just wondering also, as a magician, an illusionist, do you watch other magicians and say, that's really amazing? Or once you're kind of in this field, you kind of get, the tricks already. Is there stuff that still impresses you?
Absolutely. There's magicians that don't perform, that just create. So there's creators, and the creators are the ones that are trying to fool us performers. And once they fool us, we spend the money to learn how to do a trick or, take a lesson from that creator. And that's just another way. I mean, we can create ourselves as well, but there's some guys that are just pounding out magic tricks and coming up with the next best thing. And it's just a way for us to learn it. I tell the young audience that wants to learn how to do magic, because I teach on my YouTube channel as well for people that are interested. If you search my name on, you'll find it. But I tell people, like playing the piano, you have to learn Mary Had a Little Lamb before you can go play Mozart or Beethoven. You have to learn all those steps and principles. So I don't know. It's a journey for sure.
Just imagine if we could do magic tricks like before a drasha. You get up in front of the whole synagogue and you do one trick every week. People think like you're amazing. Like what you just did.
Here's a sleight of hand. I'm gonna make you all stay awake for the next 10 minutes. Get a magic trick. Some of our congregants, some might want us to make disappear, but we would never do that.
Right.
So Rick, we know your time is limited tonight, and we're so grateful that you're spending some of it with us. Anything you want to show us? Any opportunities
I have
to see
a trick.
firsthand?
So being that we're in this age of COVID, I have to do a lot of the stuff virtually. And, for the past 6-7 months, my buddy and we put together a show called Virtually Impossible, where we can bring our show to you anywhere in the world through a computer screen. And I'll show you one of the tricks right now. So who's going to participate with me? It's very simple.
The top two, Rabbi Moskowitz and Rabbi Broide.
All right, Rabbi Moskowitz, you ready? I'm going to throw something through the screen. You have to catch it. There it comes. Catch it. Got it. Good. This is good. So what you just caught is a virtual deck of playing cards. They're virtual. Okay. So what I want you to do is I want you to look at those cards. Go ahead and look at them.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Rabbi. You have to take them out of the box. Otherwise, this will not work. Yeah. Not bad.
Get going, Rabbi.
Okay. Here we go. Now I'm ready.
Now you're looking at the cards. You can see everything from the ace of spades on the one side all the way to the king of hearts or queen or hearts or king of hearts on the opposite side. If you were to choose one of those cards in the middle, I want you to reach in, grab that virtual card out. You have to do it. I know it sounds silly, but grab that virtual card out. I'm going to look away. I want you to show the other three. Look away.
I see it.
They see it. They're crazier than I am. Put that card upside down, put it back into your deck of cards, and throw them to me. Perfect. So now that I have four virtual cards for the very first time, tell everybody what was the card you picked.
9 of spades.
That's impressive because you could have picked any playing card. Now this deck of cards is right here. If you look through the cards like this with me, you'll notice that the one card that you did flip upside down is in my deck now. And you said the 9 of spades.
No way.
This is crazy because you picked 9 of spades.
I'm telling you, you got to do this on Shabbos.
No
That's insane.
way.
Good job.
Wow.
No way.
And now's the part of the show where you explain to us what you did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Well,
incredible.
it's fun. So, I mean, if any of your audience is watching and they're looking for a virtual show, they're looking to bring me to a bar bat mitzvah, everything is friendly. Everything is perfect for the audience that I'm performing for. I have a Purim event this Friday here in Cleveland or Beechwood, Ohio, that I'll be performing for, that I've been performing for the past, 5, 6, 7 years. And do a lot of fun stuff. So look me up, ricksmithjr.com, my name. Look me up on YouTube, Instagram, wherever you guys want to find me. And I'm there.
I have to ask you one other question because my son,
Guinness Book of Records.
My son loves Guinness Book of Records. That's right. My son loves.
I'm not in that book because the records are different every year, but I am in a few of the books. I think I'm in the 04 book, the 07 book, and the 13.
But
Wait,
you
could
could
come
probably
back?
just.
He got my 9 of spades. Wait, hold on.
How'd that happen?
you guys moved.
It just hit you? It just occurred to you now?
I'm like, how do you do that?
Just hit you.
No, it hit me, but it's hitting me in waves. That's crazy. First of all, I have to thank you because since the bar mitzvah, you gave my son a deck of cards, and every night I'm sitting there at the dinner table, and there are cards flying through me, and he's like, "I got 9 feet this time. I got 11 feet this time." So we got cards flying around our house because of you.
Rick doesn't pay. He doesn't pay for the surgery. That's on you. That's on you if you took it up. Dude Perfect. Tell us about Dude Perfect. What was that like?
They're a great group of guys. Had a great time working with them. It's like basically working with. They probably are like a family. Like they're all 5 brothers, basically, that they work together. They go to the work every day. I mean, they have it. It's a real job. 8 to 5 p.m. every Monday through Friday, and they develop trick shots. They perform them. They film them. They edit them. They have their own network facility of editors and photographers, and everybody gets along. It's such a good group, such a great environment. And that's probably why they're the #1 YouTube channel in the world. I mean,
Are they? They're #1? I
mean, I think in the U.S. they're #1.
Wow.
Mr. Beast is coming up on them, but I think right now they still have the #1 seed.
Wow.
You know, I will say, as for Behind the Bima audience, if you're looking for something wholesome, clean, fun, appropriate, these guys are really focused on being that way, to really be child-centric, child-friendly, and it's just entertaining. It's great, and if you find it, and it's great that you were on there. Rick, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for being with us.
It.
Thank you.
Thank you for the illusion. I'm going to do a little magic trick of my own right now, and I'm
You're
going
gonna
to
make me
thank you and make you disappear. Thank you. Wow, that is so cool. That was
I
great.
need to learn how to do that.
What a talent.
Great.
What a talent.
I was actually nervous he wasn't going to get it, and I'd feel bad for him on live air, but he nailed it.
How did he?
You don't feel that way? Every bar and bat mitzvah we've been to, they have a magician illusionist, and you're like, what if they don't get the right number? What if it doesn't work?
Right.
What if it doesn't happen? But
That was
they are who
crazy.
they are, and they get what they get because they're good at it, and he's good at it. So people check him up, and you'll be entertained, you'll enjoy, and share it with people. You know, he was a lot of fun, and the Purim spirit of illusion. This world is an illusion, and God is the greatest illusionist of all. He is the greatest sleight of hand. We think we know, we understand, we can see, but really he's the one calling all the shots behind the scenes in a really, really extraordinary way. So that was a lot of fun. Gentlemen.
Yes, the Wi-Fi rule did hold, by the way.
I was
The
gonna
more
say the
famous
same
a
thing.
person is, the worse their Wi-Fi is.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi rule continues to hold. There's no question. In fact, when you did the big reveal of the 9, I wasn't really sure. But I want to move over to someone who had a bad week this week, namely NBC. NBC had a rough week. And NBC had a rough week because Saturday Night Live had a potshot joke at the Jewish people, at Israel, which is the Jewish state and the Jewish people. And, there's some controversy. Some say, can't you take a joke? Can't you laugh? First of all, among the most offensive parts of the joke was that it wasn't funny. If you're going to have an offensive joke, at least let the punchline make you laugh and feel guilty about laughing. It wasn't funny, but it was so offensive. And, some point in the process between the writers, the rehearsal, and actually saying it on live TV, you would have thought someone might say, maybe this isn't really the way to go. It might not really be the way to go. So, a little disappointing. First of all, I just want to add this in the banner for people to be able to check out.
But just that goes to your other point also, which is that the second story you're going to tell also wasn't needed. It was gratuitous. It wasn't funny.
And then they did it all over again. NBC had what's the show called?
Nurses, I think. Nurses,
a show called Nurses, apparently very popular. They had an episode that demonized Jews. In fact, this one was so egregious and so heinous, NBC has since pulled it. NBC has pulled it because it was so offensive. So I don't want to raise
it goes back. Like at no point along the way did anyone say in this world of sensitivity, did no one think that would be horribly offensive to the Jewish community?
Yeah, exactly.
What was the scene? I didn't see it. I didn't hear about that one.
The scene, again, I just watched the clip, but a Hasidic boy was in the hospital. I think he needed a leg transplant or something. And the doctor comes in and says, you need a leg transplant. He says, well, it's going to be a Goyish leg. It's going to be an Arab leg. And one of the nurse happens to be an Arab. And she says, yes, what's wrong with that? And the whole point was it was showcasing the closed community of the Hasidic community and stereotypical and how prejudiced they are against other people. And it was gratuitous. It was so egregious. It was unnecessary. And it was downright offensive, honestly.
I found it interesting, the contrast between the show, which NBC has actually taken down. I don't even know what that means. They take it down from NBC On Demand. I don't know exactly what it means they took it down. I think it was already aired. So the contrast between that show, which they realized crossed the line, but the Saturday Night Live joke, which nobody's even had a comment or made a statement about, that they left up. And that, I think, is something which is pretty fascinating. So I'll tell you why I raise it, and then we're going to have a great privilege of welcoming the Bluefelds on, an amazing, amazing couple. We should all merit to that longevity, both in life and in marriage. So, I posted something online basically saying about Saturday Night Live episode. This was before the other egregious insensitivity and offensive episode. And I basically said, why does cancel culture apply to everybody but the Jew? If you say a racist or you say some other offensive, insensitive comment, then cancel culture kicks in, person gets fired, they get deplatformed, they get unlisted, they get whatever it is. And yet, when it comes to offending the Jew or Israel, cancel culture doesn't apply. So Ariel Reiner on Twitter asked me, and I think it's a very good question. He wrote, quote, purely a clarification. Is the point that cancel culture is bad, but once society does it, we should too? Or is the point that some canceling is good for deterrence, and this is one of those cases, and then how do you draw the line? And I thought that was a great question. What is our view of cancel culture? Is it, so first of all, my answer is that we didn't invent cancel culture, we didn't start it, we didn't welcome it, it's here. And once it's here, apply it equally. We could debate whether we should take it away, we could debate whether it has merit to begin with, but once it's here, apply it equally across the board, and when you don't apply it equally to the Jew or to Israel, that in itself is a form of anti-Semitism, a term that Malcolm Hoenlein here on Behind the Bima told us we should not use or take lightly. So I don't know, the two of you have an opinion. Is cancel culture good or bad in the big picture? Does cancel culture disincentivize or incentivize people not to be offensive because they're going to be canceled, or are we too much empowering the wrong people to determine who to cancel and who not to cancel?
I agree with you in your assessment of it, which is that we didn't create cancel culture. My big hang up is that the rule should be applied equally to everyone. And part of my fear and part of my frustration is that when it doesn't apply to everyone, so it makes you feel like the stomping ground, right? It reinforces age-old stereotypes of the Jews who are going like sheep to the slaughter, and the Jews who allow pogroms to happen, and the Jews who tolerate anti-Semitism, and it reinforces those age-old stereotypes of Jews who were powerless. And things were supposed to be different. Coming to America, religious freedom, post-Holocaust, the state of Israel, things were supposed to be different. And now you come to a day and age where religious sensitivity applies to every population under the sun, except for the Jews. And the reason why I get away with it is because all of those stereotypes that we don't want to believe in, well, maybe there's some truth to them. Maybe the Jewish community isn't mobilizing in the way other communities are to stand up against it. Because you and I both know that if we mobilized the way the African-American community would have mobilized or the Arab community would have mobilized, right, things would be different. And most Jews shrug their shoulders. They say it's anti-Semitism. It was a bad joke. And they move on to the next news cycle.
You know, it's interesting. I saw when the ADL put out that statement against Saturday Night Live, and they said, "Here's a petition. Sign the petition." So obviously, it's one of my colleagues here in the community put it up, so I signed it right away. And then I was wondering, because he's got a lot of friends, like how many people shared this thing? And there were very few people that originally shared it. And then I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe they're not. I shouldn't be sharing it because no one else seems to be sharing it. So maybe I've got the wrong, maybe I'm making the wrong assessment or the wrong judgment here. No one shared it. There was like no one talking about this.
The important question that it raises is one, again, that Malcolm Hoenlein on our show Behind the Bima, we had that discussion. I think it was really important. Malcolm Hoenlein, the head of the Conference of Presidents, who's dedicated his career, his life, it's worth going back and listening to that episode. If you haven't, you can find it on YouTube or on your podcast player. Don't forget to rate and review or subscribe. But he made the very important point that we cannot throw around the term anti-Semitism lightly. When we accuse something of being anti-Semitic when it's not, then the term loses its significance, its meaning, and its power. So there were people who kind of said, we read an article by somebody who called it a blunder, a misstep. It's not funny. You shouldn't have said it, but so that's the question: is when you make a joke about Israel that has vaccinated half the people, the Jewish half, and you are perpetuating a stereotype.
Let's say you're right. Let's say it's not anti-Semitism. Would you not agree that it's grossly insensitive? And in this day and age where sensitivity is held to the highest esteem, see, you got to be more sensitive. You got to be more sensitive to populations and the way jokes are going to deeply offend entire communities, even if it's not anti-Semitism. It doesn't meet Malcolm Hoenlein's definition. It's insensitive. It's inappropriate.
But it is an interesting balance, because if everything's anti-Semitic, then nothing is. But if nothing's anti-Semitic, then there are no Semitic people, because they will wipe us out. So, in other words, you like that? That was nice.
I do like that. That was nicely done.
That was on the spot.
It's a little late at night to be doing that, but yeah.
Waxing poetic. So, no, the point is that if you scream fire for everything when it's not, if you scream what's the thing? You're not supposed to. Speaking of poetic, now I can't even find the words. What's the example? You're not allowed to yell, or they're not going to come save you if you say it too many times.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know you're talking about.
Keep going.
It's very.
It's too late at night.
Maybe our sons are right, and it's time to retire. Maybe the boys are right, and it's time to hand it over. 1 second, our fact checker is weighing in. Wolf, crying wolf. That's it. Thank you. If you cry wolf, of course, retire. If you cry wolf too many times, then you can't. On the other hand, if you're always saving to cry wolf and you never cry it, then you won't even be around. It'll be too late. So where does it start? Where does it end?
I'm just going to point out it's more than that. And again, there's a line. Are all the millions of people that are now posting "Cry Wolf"? They'll also.
We got it.
I think it's the canary in the coal mine. I think there's a phrase like that.
That's also.
No,
I'm getting text. My phone is blowing up.
I know
my phone is blowing up with
"Cry Wolf." It's "Cry Wolf."
Thank you. No, these are all good listeners. We're grateful to you. Thank you.
Exactly. No, but it's the canary in the coal mine, which basically says.
Oh, canary in the coal mine. Here we go.
No, because if you don't nip this in the bud, if you allow it to ferment itself, then it becomes cancerous, and that's another concern.
I think it's
right, Rabbi. I agree with you. You're right. Each one is might be insignificant in and of itself, but when it creates a pattern that now makes it allowable and now makes it excusable, so that's a problem for the Jews, because we've seen where that's gone in the past.
Yeah. So who are the judge and jury? ADL, AJC, which alphabet soup of the Jewish organized community? who are all amazing and wonderful and have done great work. So is it for the individual, for us? Do we individually decide what we feel is anti-Semitic and oppose it online? Or do we defer to organizations who are specifically dedicated and have studied the issue? But it is an important thing to consider each of the time these things happen. I'm grateful in this wonderful week that there was some sense of a rally cry around it. And at least with one of the two offensive things, NBC walked it back. And hopefully there's a lesson to be learned. Because the goal, by the way, is not to make further enemies. The goal is to educate. And the goal is for people to understand and to come back and to become, as educated, become great advocates for standing up for and defending the Jewish people.
Now, let me ask you a question. Does the fact that it's a joke make a difference? Let's say it was a funny joke. Right? Does that make it excusable? Because you and I have listened to comedians, I don't want to say names and get into trouble, but even Jewish comedians that will sometimes make off-color jokes, and sometimes nowadays with our contemporary sensitivities will cringe a little bit. Does the fact that it's humorous, that it's a joke, does that make certain jokes more excusable than if it was done outside the context of comedy?
Right. Well, one of the major experts in my life, my mother, has texted me, and I agree with her. The reason it's egregious is because Israel is accused of being an apartheid state. So what seems like a very benign or innocuous joke, I bet it's
feeding a narrative.
It's feeding a horrific narrative, which is unjust, unfair, a lie, and an anti-Semitic lie. Make no mistake, not just anti-Israel, anti-Semitic, to suggest that Israel's apartheid or mistreats. More Arabs have been inoculated in Israel than the Arab countries around it, or the opportunity has been there and they haven't been able to inspire them. So it's not benign. And just like it wouldn't be benign for others, right? The culture we're living in doesn't treat it as benign for others. But it's Erev Purim, and we don't want to talk about the sad and the scary things, although part of the lesson of Purim, I've said this to our Torah maybe as frequently or more than any other, is Rabbi Soloveitchik's insight. That the miracle of Purim is not that we survived. The miracle of Purim is that an anti-Semite got up, said what he wanted to do to us, and we believed him. And that is the miracle of Purim, and that should not be lost on us. So we have to recognize and stand up to anti-Semitism in our time. But we have the privilege now of speaking to two very special people who have
Most
each
adorable
lived on this
couple
earth,
ever.
who've lived on this earth for 100 years each and have been married 80 years. 80 years. We'll reflect on it after the conversation. But now it is a great privilege to be able to welcome them on Behind the Bima and to be able to welcome Lou and Edith Bluefeld. We are so grateful to be joined by an amazing couple right here in Boca Raton, Florida. I saw this story a couple weeks ago online. This was covered by several newspapers and online websites. And then I happened to notice the couple live in Boca Raton. I said, we have to have them on our show. So it's a great joy and a great privilege to welcome Lou and Edith Bluefeld. Thank you so much for coming on Behind the Bima with me, Rabbi Goldberg, joined with Rabbi Moskowitz and Rabbi Broide.
Hey.
Hi.
So let me tell our audience that we are celebrating an extraordinary milestone, truly extraordinary. Lou, first of all, happy birthday. 2 weeks ago turned 100 years old. And please God, this coming August, Edith is going to join you in that club at 100 years old. And I have to tell you both the good news. The good news is that they say the first 100 years are the hardest. So it should get easy from here. The really extraordinary thing is that yesterday, on February 23rd, the two of you celebrated your 80th wedding anniversary.
Yes.
That's really amazing.
Yes.
Lou, what did you have to buy? What does one buy for their 80th wedding anniversary?
It's very easy. I always ask Edith what I should buy for her birthday. And so what she said she has had all the gifts. And now we're lucky we have the gift of God because we're in good health. We're blessed, and we thank God every day. We really are blessed to be in good health at this age.
That is a blessing, and it's extraordinary that both of you, please God, thank God, Bli Ayin Hara, should just continue in good health. So you were both born in 1921, you married in 1941, and here we are in 2021, 100 years after your birth, 80 years after your marriage. Tell us about your upbringing. Where were you born, and how did you meet? And I know that you ran an amazing business and were able to cater for and meet some really special people. So share with us a little bit about it.
Well, we met at 16 years of age. Incidentally, I do the talking, but Edith is really the boss. I just want you to know.
Like us, just like us.
Exactly.
Anyhow, we met at 16, we got engaged. Edith was 19 and I was 20. We got married in 41. That was before Pearl Harbor, incidentally, and in 1943, I was called into service, and so I was in the Army.
3 years.
For 3 years. I was in New Guinea and I was in the Philippines, and we were blessed there because I saw no action. And incidentally, while I was overseas, Edith sent me a letter every single day, every day, because she saw what it was when we were in Mississippi, how fellows would stand waiting for the mail and get no mail, and it was so disappointing, and she felt so sorry for them.
You said.
And so when I went overseas, she sent me a letter every day. And in 1946, in April, I came back. I was discharged, and our business was, during the war year, there was really no activity. But in 1946, after the war, it seemed that everybody wanted to have a party. And so our business grew. And my brother and myself, my mother started the business in 1937.
Just to tell everybody, it's a kosher catering business, correct?
Kosher catering. And incidentally, Rabbi, there were many caterers all over the country, as you know, kosher. My brother and I both insisted that if we have kosher, we wanted to be represented by a rabbi of not our choosing. And so we went to the Rabbinical Council in Baltimore and asked them to pick a rabbi to represent us. And so it was done honest from the beginning. And with that, it was respect on both sides. And we built a very healthy business. It was done without signing contracts. In Baltimore, it was a very lovely Jewish community. It was and still is a very good Jewish community. And we grew with the community. And going back to my father when I was young, the thing that he instilled on the children is numen. Kept saying numen, and couldn't make us understand more than your reputation is everything.
Right.
And in our business, our reputation was impeccable. If we made a mistake, and we certainly made our mistakes, we owned up to our mistakes.
Wow.
And people appreciated the integrity. And it didn't hurt our business, it helped to build our business. We respected the fact, we knew that when somebody had a bar mitzvah, it was very, very important to them. The kind of money that they were going to spend, they're looking forward to it. It's unique. And to each person, having an affair is the most important thing ever at that time.
Right.
And we respected it that way.
Now, Lou, you didn't only cater bar mitzvahs. I understand that you catered in the White House and for presidents, but let's come back to that in a moment. Could you tell us a little bit? You were both born in America in 1921. So were your parents immigrants or grandparents immigrants? Where did they come from? Tell us a little bit about your families.
Yes. My father came over in 1906. His parents sent him out because they were from Russia, and they were having the pogroms, and his father and mother sent him and said, you go to the United States. He was young, and said, you'll have a life. And if you stay here, there'll be no future for you. And so at 18 years of age, he had a girlfriend who was my mother. And he said, I promise that I'm going to go and I'm going to make some money and I'll come back and get you. My mother said, yes, it's forget about it. I know it won't happen. Anyhow, my father landed in Baltimore. He became a painter. He lived on herring and bread. saved everything he made and went back the following year. He saved up enough money to go back
Go listen.
in the bottom of the ship.
Go listen.
Tell me.
No.
And he went back. It was $25 charge. He picked up his bride, and they came back to the United States. And in 1907 is when they started their life in the United States. And it was difficult at first, but they mastered. I come from a family of 7 children, and my father went into a business, and in 29 we were wiped out completely. My mother, who was very active in charity work in those days, did cooking. She would cook, and the money that they would make would go to bring over other immigrants or help them. In 1937 is when she started her little catering business, and from there it grew. Now, the unique part about our business is that even though we were a kosher operation and started with affairs that added up to $200, a bar mitzvah for $250, we grew into an organization in Baltimore and Washington,
Right.
kosher, but at the end of our career, we had close to 50% of our total volume was non-Jewish work, even though it was kosher.
Wow.
Wow.
And,
incredible.
and the reasoning was that it so happened that the hotels didn't serve well. The non-kosher caterers did not appeal to nice people. And so anyone, Italian nice weddings, Greek nice weddings, we catered them in Baltimore.
Wow.
And we
Wow.
grew into the political field because our work was a little better than everyone else, and it had integrity. And so we did many jobs, and we did inaugural one of the inaugurals for Nixon.
Wow.
Wow.
And
Well, it just goes to show you what a good name and a lot of integrity can take you.
And of course, the ultimate was that I think it was 1977 when Carter arranged for the peace plan for Sadat and Begin.
Bacon.
Anyhow, it was the first kosher affair served in the White House. It was 200 people,
Wow.
and we catered for them in the Blair House all week.
Wow.
And that was the pinnacle.
We heard the reason the deal went through was because of that great food.
Yeah. Well, anyhow, we sold the business in 1984, and we came down to Boca West in 1985 full time, and we've been very fortunate. It was the right place for us, and we have been very fortunate. There's a lot of ballroom people. My friends who are 15 years younger, I did their bar mitzvahs, I did their weddings.
That's great.
And it sounds like I should be 120 years old, but that's been a summary of our career.
So Lou, here's the question on everyone's mind. Here's the question on my mind for both you and Edith. What do you credit your longevity? Tell a bunch of young guys. I don't look so young, but I'm a young guy. Tell our young listening audience, what are the lifestyle choices? What's important in life? Both of you, again, Kenai Nahara, 100 years old, 80 years of marriage. What do you credit your longevity, a long life to? What's important for people to know?
And Lou, don't forget, yesterday was actually my wedding anniversary as well. We shared February 23rd, except I was only up to 24.
How many years, Rabbi Brody?
24, so we've got about another 60 to go to catch up.
No
but
problem.
we really want to know.
No, I want you to know that one thing is that we had arguments like any normal couple, but we never ever went to bed angry at each other. Number one, that's one of the things I feel strong about. Edith is very easy. she did everything. If I would pick out my clothes in the morning, I would check with Edith, is this shirt all right? She was the one that really did everything as far as making a house, making the family. I was working, but it worked. But the biggest thing is that what I see today, unfortunately, is that if somebody has an argument, it becomes, talking, angry. It's awful. We don't get involved in those things. In later years, whatever Edith said, if I thought it was wrong, it was no big deal. If it was important enough and I said no, that was the end of it. Edith knew that other than that, the small things that people bicker over, it's sad because it's so unnecessary. It means nothing. It's usually about something that's unimportant. So number one, the older I got, the more I realized that the little things, you leave it alone. Edith has an expression that that today is bad, tomorrow will be better. And her father and mother believed in that. And she always repeated over and over. She said, well, it's a bad day, it'll be better tomorrow. But the little things, we just don't make a big deal out of things. And we were blessed. And ironically, it's not that we watch what we ate or go to the gym. I didn't have the time of the luxury of going to the gym. But when we got here in 1985, Edith said we're going to a nutritionist. And so we went to a nutritionist, and she said, we're going to get in shape. And on our way out, the nutritionist said, where do you live? We said, Boca Western apartment. Where? Told her. What floor? Told her the 4th floor. She says, you know what? Try walking up and down the steps once a day. That was 35 years ago. And,
it's a lot of steps.
We rarely use the elevator. If we went out with our neighbors, they knew. They went to the elevator. We went to the steps. The doctors over the years have said you don't realize what doing that did for your muscles, your balance. It's an amazing thing. Costs nothing.
Right.
But how important walking activities are. Please don't sit. Don't sit. You have to be mobile. I want you to know that today I walked up and down those steps twice a day.
Wow.
We just don't use the elevator. At night, we'll use it now. Edith uses it a little more, but it's been a godsend. And as the doctor said, Lou, you have no idea that is better than all the medicines and things that you could have done.
So don't sweat the small stuff. Don't focus on the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. And don't take the elevator when you could take the stairs. It's really it's an amazing story. So we're celebrating the holiday of Purim this week. We're celebrating the miracle of the Jewish survival against enemies. In your combined 200 years, 80 years that you've experienced together, you've seen a lot of miracles from God, the founding of the State of Israel and the 6-Day War and other miracles. Do you have any reflections on that? Reflections about God, about Judaism, about the miracles that you've lived through?
Well, the one miracle that I keep talking to everybody about is that it's hard to believe. I think I'm correct. I think that there are about 15 million Jews in the world. I think there's about 7.5 million in Israel. We have about 6 million here in the United States. The rest of the world, maybe there's another million or a little over. for 15 million, and maybe I'm off a million, but for 15 million people who is nothing, it's nothing, the kind of results that we have given to the world is just, I kvel every day. What Israel has achieved and is achieving is unbelievable. I mean, for a group of people from the 1940s to accomplish what's been accomplished, it's just unheard of. I remember in 70, I think it was 72 or 76, we were in Israel, and I was on a bus, and I asked the driver, where's the Israel line? And proudly he said, where it's green, it's Israel, and where it's nothing but dirt, that's the Palestinian land. So that that's the wonder of wonders. I constantly, we discuss it. If we sit at lunch, I mean, we discuss it with the fellows because it's remarkable what we have achieved and are achieving for the world. All good. It's a remarkable thing. And I don't have to tell you where we came from and where we were pushed out of, and what it's remarkable. Now, I may be off, but I think the 15, 16 million total in the world is in line, and it's unbelievable.
I think so.
That's amazing. So all these articles written about you guys, you've been on the news, now you're on Behind the Bima. Are you taking your newfound stardom in stride? What are you doing with all this attention about you, two of you now?
Well, I found out that I'm a ham. And God bless Edith. I mean, she goes along with me. And I just want you to know, so that you can remember, when you get to be 100, milk it for all it's worth. When I get on the phone, the first thing I say, please help me. I'm 100 years old, and then I ask them what I want. Now, milk it for all it's worth.
That's great. Well, we want to thank the two of you, Lou and Edith. First of all, a very, very happy birthday, 100 years old, each of you, and a happy anniversary, 80 years. In today's day and age, it's hard to get some of the young couples to be willing to compromise and stick together for 8 minutes or 8 hours or 8 months or 8 years, let alone 80 years. Hashem, God should give you many, many more. Good health and happiness with your family and only the best of everything. So we'll leave you with one more thought. Simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, mazel tov, simen tov, mazel tov, simen tov.
Yehelanu.
Very, very happy Purim. Thank you for joining us on Behind the Bima, and we look forward to welcoming you back for your 90th anniversary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good health.
Amen.
Thank you.
Good health to you, and be careful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Semen tov and mazel tov.
We are so grateful.
Semen
All
tov.
right.
That was great.
Simen
I
tov,
love it.
mazel
Oh,
tov.
I love it.
I just want to say that in that couple, Edith plays the role of Rabbi Brody on Behind the Bima.
Try to get a word in.
So what great advice. What great advice. Take the stairs, don't go to bed angry, and when you get to 100, milk it for all it's worth.
Imagine how many stairs you walk. Think about that over the course of a lifetime. It is great advice.
Yeah.
And it's an easy thing to do. You got to do one of them anyway. You might as well do the stairs instead of the elevator.
I'll tell you who gave me
That's
muster
great.
about that, who gave me feedback about that once. I was in the Belfer Hall in Yeshiva University, and I was about to take the elevator, and Rabbi Goldberg came in the building, and he pulls me by the arm. He goes, no, come with me. And we went up to the 11th floor. I'll never forget, I was gassed. He was like running up like it was nothing. I was gassed. And from then on, I always took the stairs in Belfer Hall. That was my exercise, similar to my friend Lou.
You please God will live till 100 years old, and if Ariel will put up with you, you'll be married for 80 years, please God. Please God. I remember
long
once
time.
I was once visiting LA. There's a Coffee Bean on the corner there in LA near where there's the hotel that a lot of people stay in, Beverly Hills. And across the street, a little bit up the hill, below the Wiesenthal Center, below up the hill, there's like a 2-level outdoor mall, and there was a gym on the second floor, and there was an outdoor, I believe, escalator next to a staircase. And I was watching all the people on their way up to the gym take the escalator instead of the stairs.
Funny.
Yeah. So it is funny the way we work. You know, there are people who will they'll park as close as they can at the gym, or they'll insist on driving to the gym even if it's like a block away. Because when they exercise, and when they're not exercising, they're not exercising. You know, it's possible that we have an avid listener and former multi-time sponsor who, when he plays golf, he goes in the cart, and even if the other people are walking, he says, "When I work out, I work out. When I play golf, I want to be in the cart. I'm not walking." Imagine if he would walk. Imagine.
Totally disagree. I know what we're talking about. Totally disagree with him. That's part of the fun. Is you're walking. It's beautiful out there. He's wrong. I love him, but he's wrong.
Right? He is wrong. He is wrong. Well, we promised an hour tonight. We're going to break the marathon. We promised an hour. But before we go, it's possible that our opener did not play for some people, and we promised that we're going to play it again. So we're going to actually end the way we opened. We'll come back on momentarily. But this was the way we opened tonight in case you missed it.
Hi, I'm Rabbi Goldberg. Here's my dear friends, Rabbi Moskowitz and Rabbi Broide, and we are here to take you behind the Bima.
Guys, what are you doing here?
What do you mean? You guys are getting old. We're planning for your retirement.
Retirement? We're just getting started.
Guys, it's bedtime.
That was the way that was the way
watch
we
that
opened
over
tonight.
and over and over again.
Yeah. It's the nicest thing when you know, it's not just, it doesn't have to be rabbis. It could be anybody. It could be people who work together or just friends. But, you know, when you're blessed with children, which we don't take for granted. I hope people attended the summit last week of I Was Supposed to Be a Mother. I forgot the website's name, but the important summit on this subject. If you're blessed to have kids, so when you're like the closest to friends, then you've got kids and their friends, and you could see the next generation. What a blessing. Never take it for granted. We hope and pray for those people who want to experience it. But seeing those 3 boys at the microphones, how cute.
It was adorable. Adorable. The best part was how excited they were for it. Right?
They were so excited.
All day they were talking about it. It was really adorable.
They were
by the way,
excited.
the daughters want to get on one now.
I heard that. We're going to make it happen, of course. Behind the Bima is very open in that way. Rabbi Moskowitz, if Moshe came to you and he wanted to be a rabbi, would you steer him away from it? Would you be proud?
Not for a second. I'd be enormously proud. What greater contribution can you make to the world than bettering the Jewish people, than being there for people in their time of need? Then it would be my greatest source of pride. But if he doesn't want to be, that's fine too. I will support him in anything that he wants to do, as long as he strives to become the best version of himself.
Wow, nice. And Rabbi Broide, Eitan comes to you, says, "I'm going to be a rabbi." What do you say?
I'm joining your shul. Get me a seat.
That's great. I feel the same way. With the challenges and opportunities we talked about last week in our 3.5-hour 5 rabbinic couple marathon,
which is now being shown in Yeshiva University Smicha program, right?
I heard Smicha programs all over the world. It's global. It's global. I do want to have a shout out because the global movement ended. We talked about the final numbers, but they were not final at all because a dear friend of mine, Shai Stern, has given a very nice gift. And Shai, from the bottom of my heart, talk about dear friends for life. I think we were in diapers together. And Shai, thank you for that generosity and support. It means the world.
You could have given it to Team Moskowitz. It would have blown past me. Snooze, you lose.
Seriously.
Listen, it's not too late. Now that you raise it, the campaign is not over. And Rabbi Moskowitz is about $1,110. $1,110.
I'm just saying, the person who put you over the top with also a very nice donation, it's going to be a little awkward the next time he sees me here in Boca.
Listen,
we love Jerry.
$1,111 puts Rabbi Moskowitz over the top. Okay, we promised an hour this week. We were grateful. Rick Smith Jr., check him out. Google him online. Amazing illusionist, magician,
9 spades,
card thrower, world records. That was a crazy trick. Come on, you're not curious how he did that?
I'm not going to sleep tonight. That's how amazing.
I don't understand.
I'm going to try it in my perm student. It's going to work.
Join us at the 10:15 Shabbos minyan this week. There's going to be some magic.
There will be some magic.
I'm working on a trick right now.
Listen, considering Shabbos morning, it's the day after Purim, I think there's going to be a larger attendance at the later minyan.
Rabbi Brody's magic is going to be how can he do all of davening in 45 minutes? That's going to be his magic.
Who wants to hear bar mitzvah? We're celebrating an amazing bar mitzvah this Shabbos. We can't wait. We're so excited.
Who wants to hear a drusha or a magic trick? Let's go.
Thank you to Rick Smith Jr. Thank you to Lou and Edith Bluefeld for staying up late In case it wasn't obvious that we recorded that right before the early bird special this evening. But thank you to Lou and Edith Bluefeld. They get a pass. We record you when your combined age is 200 and you've been married for 80 years. We'll record you whenever you're feeling up to it. Whenever you're feeling good.
Our combined age isn't even 200.
No,
we're actually not even close.
Age is not even close. So amazing night. Thank you all. Thank you. It's not too late. brsonline.org/global. You can still, if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy Behind the Bima, please subscribe on YouTube. Please rate and review on podcast players. And please join the global movement, the global nation. brsonline.org/global. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay